got playoffs, players of the year, conference names, all that and more on episode 107 of the UFL Podcast.
1, 2, 3.
To another amazing edition of the UFL Podcast. I'm the rep representing Pro Football Newsroom, the leaders in spring football news. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, do we got a big week for you. But before we get started, I'm joined, as always, by my man, Zachy Boy Kyleman. How you doing today, my friend?
I do declare that it is the playoffs finally, and that we are going to have ourselves quite a fun time. As I drop the bit, it's playoff season, people. It's award season. It's the most exciting time of the year that distracts from what is I would say, absence of our league being put down, at least for the summer. But that's okay. This is a fun time of season. We got a championship to play for. We got awards being doled out. We got players now that are putting themselves on the market to be signed on to rosters right now as we get into training camp coming in July. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Fun time of year for everybody involved, and lots going on as well to talk about the future too, as we keep doing that, it seems, every week at this point. So yeah, happy to have it. And as you'll say soon enough, our road trip's almost there, pal. We're right around the corner.
So close.
So close.
We got the drones, we got the cameras, we got the mounts, we got the microphones, we got the car ready, we got one of the hotels ready, we got some of the stops ready. We found new stops we never asked Jace about the onion burger, so we must do it this Monday. Hopefully he's in a good mood. We'll talk about it when we get to the previews. I'm sure you're hoping he's in a bad mood.
I was kind of sad he bailed on me talking. I feel like I bored him. I need to redeem myself this week.
I still think there was, ninjas in the background that were like, what are you saying there? And they cut that stream off quick. But you know what? Well, I'm sure he'll be here this upcoming week. Another reason you should be subscribed, click the bell, it builds morale. It also lets you know when we go live every Monday night with Around the UFL at 6 p.m. Eastern. And also let you know when new episodes drop just like this one. It's also going to let you know when Summer Stock, the road to the UFL Championship, kicks off. Like I said, we're aiming for Friday the 13th. It might be on that midnight going in. But since we got that extra day on the road, Zach, I think this is going to make it easier to edit this thing down, give us a little bit more leeway, and hopefully a little bit more time to enjoy the scenery while we're there and not just film it. Like I said, I know there's going to be instances on this trip where I'm going to want something to eat at multiple places. That's going to be a challenge. I already know, okay, this onion burger is probably close to Pop 66. So I got to get in my game, loosen up the belly in between. I've been eating like a monster lately, Zach. You know how good athletes prepare for the big game? I'm preparing, Zach. I got a Jets pizza yesterday. I almost polished that whole thing down by myself. Whoa. I'm ready to go. I'm greased up.
What?
Well, you know what I mean.
What are you doing?
I'm like a well-oiled machine is really what I meant to say, but my brain said I'm greased up. I don't know why, but hey, no curtains, baby.
Dude, you took all the curtains off. What the hell?
I really don't know how my brain got greased up out of like a well-oiled machine, but it did. And these are all the things you should look forward to on this road trip, because it's going to be much of this.
We've got it all on this road to Summer Stock.
Hell yeah.
But speaking of greasy, I did finally get it back down. I'm putting it in the notes. My no curtains, my sole contribution to the notes, because this man basically powered through these when we were making them. It's Tucker's burgers. So
there we go.
Yeah, it's called Tucker's Onion Burgers. So it's right on the name. It's like the kind of that 50s-esque look. But yeah, it's the quintessential Oklahoma home and onion burger right there. We're definitely making a stop at OKC for that. And then Pop 66 too. And who knows what else we'll find, because there's a few other items I did look up and then I forgot. I need to throw that on there. So we'll get to that at some point. But yeah, good we got the extra day. And definitely will make for some great time. I know coming back, we are definitely, it's more business rather than leisure, because we are definitely hauling, and I'll say it, we're hauling ass to get home for Monday at least.
Call me crazy though, and maybe I will be. I think it's like if we took the shortened route home, it's about a 12-hour drive. And that's really 2 stints of us driving 3 hours at a time. That's not too bad when you think about it like that. And so, we maybe find a stop, maybe something or other, but I still want some goodies on the way back. I'm hoping and you know what, maybe it's just an extra clip or whatever. We throw it on social media. It's definitely not going to be a full-on extravaganza like summer stock, but if we do find some goodies on the way back, we'll film those. You'll see them as well somewhere.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm sure we'll get that. And yeah, it's gonna be a great time. Like I said, we got some other things. I'm really, I don't know why I keep hanging on this. I really hope we hit that bison 3 states marker we stick at. I hope to God there is bison out there, and that we do get some footage of that, because they're so cool. They're battle cows, man. They're freaking battle cows. That's how I always name them.
Yeah. No, and if they're not there,
frontier. Yeah.
If they're not there, maybe we can leverage like AI to add it into the frame for us. Just
hey, look, we found one.
A bison. I
don't know if you've seen the Dungeons and Dragons movie, like Chris Pine. He's I don't know why you remind me of this. He plays a bard, and they're doing an illusionary thing. I'm gonna go full nerd here. And he's trying to sing to the guards as a distraction. And what happens is the illusion gets broken. So he starts breaking down. It's like this melting robot thing. And so I always have this in my head stuck going, he's going, bray, 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 bray. He's in bigger eyes and mouth. And then all of a sudden it breaks and he goes, bray.
I love it. Yes. But they better have a bison, or that might happen in real life. That will be me.
You may be right.
And then I don't know if we talked about this much. We are tempting fate. We are traveling on Friday the 13th in St. Louis.
In St. Louis.
I'm sure there'll be an element to that as well. Hopefully we don't who's from Friday the 13th? Is that Michael Myers?
That's Jason Voorhees.
Jason Voorhees. Hopefully we don't run into Jason Voorhees.
We stop at a Crystal Lake, wherever that would be. Whatsoever.
It's by my parents' house, funny enough.
Are you serious?
So, yeah, we'd have to go a little bit further. A little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if
half of the trip.
For that.
It'd be 5-6 hours north. It's not worth it. But it is there. It is there. Anyway, we got a whole show.
Yes, we do.
We'll start with some, speculation zone, if you will. Our good old friend James Larson, you should be following him on social media. Always be checking out pfnewsroom.com daily, because, he's always putting things out. He put out an X post, a tweet, whatever you want to call it, talking about the potential of the UFL dropping the USFL and the XFL conference naming scheme. Now, I think we may have heard about this in the past, Zach. I don't know if we've talked about it publicly.
I don't think we have yet, but
I don't, and it doesn't sound like there's even a direction on, how the structure is going to be. But one that he does mention here is the north-south structure, which, and this will just drive us further into the speculation zone. Okay, let's look at the teams that we have now. Is Memphis one of the northern teams in this situation? Right? It would almost have to be. Or does that point to what everybody wants to hear about, what everybody wants to speculate? Oh, Memphis is moving. I don't know if they're moving. I don't know if they are or not. But when I see a north-south, I'm like, oh, maybe that indicates. The same argument can be said for Houston, too. Not that I've been told Houston's not moving, and I hope I wasn't lied to.
I hope you haven't been. I hope not.
I told them they'd hear about it if they lied to me. They might be listening to this now.
Hope not. Man, I look at the map. So if that were to happen, I had this thought about it previously on how I would split it. And I would have done it where you take all 3 Texas teams and Birmingham and you merge them into one. And then everyone else gets put in DC, St. Louis, Michigan, and Memphis because it's a little more geographical that way. But that doesn't mean it's going to work out that way. And I'm kind of fascinated if they do add teams, like they're saying, how that looks. Is there relocation? I think the bigger debate here that everyone's having is, do you want to remove those brands? Is that okay to sideline them and kind of sunset them, or maybe like use them as like legacy material, not as much focus in them like they were last year? Because remember, the debut was, it was about the merger, but they hyped up all year the rivalry aspect, the two playing each other, how the records were looking between each other. This year they kind of went, okay, you guys know the deal, we're moving on. And I'm wondering if they just look at it and they're like, well, maybe it's not drumming up what we thought. And, what if we just say once we get to new teams, we can just kind of sunset them? Because now, it's one merged league where we can focus on something else is, I think, the question. But, does the legacy matter, I guess, Stefan? That's what I'm saying. Is it enough to focus and just say, doesn't matter the geographic location, just slap on these names and keep that alive, at least in a more active sense?
Yeah. See, to me, it matters. What they might find out is that to the masses, it doesn't. But I don't know, a little piece of me inside feels like the league found out this rivalry was maybe a little too real. Meaning, not necessarily the players and the coaches and the teams, but the internet. We lived through it with the USFL podcast, Zachy boy.
Yeah, we did.
And we watched all the XFL podcasts, a good chunk of them, hate on the USFL. We saw a good chunk of the USFL guys hate on the XFL. And then even with the merger, there's a deep-seated divide in certain cases, even with division lines, because it's an XFL team versus a USFL team.
I still have people to this day that when I try and talk an argument or debate on what to do with the attendance or tickets, that it's simple. You should just go on the XFL. You should just kept all those teams. I'm like, you missed the plot.
I've heard the reverse too. So it just shows this. I think this rivalry may have been too real for them, and that when they look at the paper and they're like, are we turning off fans that were XFL fans that feel jilted that their league is now a division?
Yeah.
And when the other league has only won the championship, right? And so especially this year, if an XFL team doesn't win, you have both years of the leagues, USFL teams wins. So maybe there's something to that. I would love to see it stay. I love the USFL logo. The XFL logo I could do with or without. I really like the 2020 XFL logo.
Yeah.
Always. And I would have said that if I was on the XFL podcast and not the USFL podcast. So get over it, guys. You agree. Everybody agrees with me. The new XFL logo stinks.
Oh, no, that has been consistently panned as a downgrade. I don't think anything will live up to the 2020 version in most people's eyes. And honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that you have red, white, and blue for the other side, I would argue more that maybe you do bring that old logo and then you can maybe make it closer. But I digress. I think right now, part of why this discussion's even happening is I feel like we're in this stage of everything's on the table and we just need to open, and people are just openly discussing what do we do to make this better or more resonate with people, or something like that, or make it more where we're focused on the UFL brand and we sunset, maybe not sunset, but get away from just the past, it's spring football, it's one or another, and say, no, UFL's one thing, is what I think is happening. I'm not 100% sure. I also think, again, if you are expanding, maybe it's just easier to say, well, this isn't a USFL team. Someone's going to be like that and snobby, we talked about how the Roughnecks, it's not a USFL brand. It was just it was the more popular of the two options for the Houston branding, and they kept it. And, now it's kind of well, depending on what we add, should this matter? I feel like that's playing out as well. So a few things on the table, but it's just a crucial offseason. So I think you're seeing stuff like that where it's you're focusing in on aspects of what might be more appealing, perhaps. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. I just hope they keep these brands around, because I do feel like you're doing the vault with that collaboration with selling antique things from years past. doesn't hurt to have like those old brands or vintage things there if that's what you're going to start considering it. So, keep that in mind. Plus, are they going to get rid of these old trophies too? Like the USFL trophy, is that just going to be like they're going to make a new one and re-engrave it and call it something else? That was part of the deal, is you're keeping these trophies as like former mementos for these two merging leagues as conference trophies, and then you make it the big one at the end. So what happens to those? Do they get sunsetted as well?
They got tired of that damn XFL trophy.
The freaking
thing out of here.
Freaking baster. Like, that's all it is. That's one. I still hold it. That's to that as be one of the ugliest professional football trophies I've ever seen. But whatever, someone's got to win that one. So,
which is a shame, because have you ever seen the mock-ups for what the 2020 XFL championship was supposed to look like? It was like a crystal ball that slides into like a little platform. I'm like, oh my God, cool. We were robbed.
So cool.
It's a damn shame. We need to bring back that European football, like the orb. And like,
yeah. Yes. Hang on, let me pull this thing up. NFL Europe trophy. This thing was great. If you haven't seen it.
I remember that from when I was a kid. I don't know how I ended up watching NFL Europe, but I was sitting around on a Sunday afternoon, flipping through the channels. All of a sudden, there's an elephant with an orb on TV. And I had told so many people about that. They all thought I was crazy. And now that I'm part of this wacky spring football universe, it's like the only group of people that have ever known what the hell I was talking about. Because you go to school and tell them, did you see the elephant with the orb football game? What the hell are you talking about?
The World Bowl trophy is fantastic. Because here's the thing. It's not just an orb. So, like, if you look up the zoomed in photo, so it does have the base, and what used to be called NFL Europe, now it's in NFL Europa or World League of American Football. But the orb, they carved out the entire. It's a globe, so it's not just an orb. Like it is a glass globe in a pyramid stand. It's like something out of like ancient times meets like stamped on corporate logo. It's kind of glorious, actually. I wonder where the last one is right now.
Yeah, see, this is something they need in the Football Hall of Fame. I know, even it's a defunct league, but it's so damn cool just looking at it.
The whole thing weighs 41 pounds, by the way, like a solid glass ball.
Hell yeah! It's funny going through Google looking at the pictures of these, because it's from so long ago. All the pictures are like tiny. They're all from like, the last website that posted it was probably in like the early 2000s. So it's like the images are all like, it's a 75 by 125, 150 by 180.
And it's funny. I would say like I wish this returned back, but the ELF's trophy is also pretty sweet too. Not gonna lie. So that one I can't argue with either. But like, rest in peace World Bowl trophy. Also rest in peace XFL 2001 trophy. By the way, that thing. I know that one's still out. Yeah, the beast, the $1 million game.
That thing is huge, man.
It's massive.
Yeah. Anyway. So conference names, another change to potentially look forward to in 2026 for season 3 of the UFL, which will officially be the first season 3 in spring football since the original USFL. Now that's right. If you're not counting the merge, because I understand the USFL, this would have been season 4 that just wrapped up. We'd be going into season 5, which is crazy.
That is kind of nuts to think about, but we are right on the cusp. It'd be the first time a one league goes through 3 seasons as a full property. So since the USFL days, like you said, so. Crazy stuff on the horizon. I don't foretell another merger delaying that or anything. There's nothing that would do that. So all hands on deck. UFL's here again for next year. So there's that.
Yeah. So, it's the end of the season. All the games are behind us. Only 3 games in front of us. Mm-hmm. We haven't gotten the official players of the year from the league itself. Those are going to be coming soon. But I think it's a good opportunity for us to go through our players of the year.
Yes.
And you know what? We agreed in some instances. And honestly, it's funny. The first 3, I actually agree with yours. We'll go through them in a minute. The second one, I almost agreed with you there. The third one, once you put it in, I'm like, that's who. The fourth one, I think I'm going to win the battle here. Oh. Anyway, offensive player of the year, Jacob Sailors, around the board. We both agreed.
Hands down.
And I've been saying it from the beginning of the season. When I looked at that team, I'll be honest, I counted them out quite a few times. But time and time and time again, who is out there scoring, making ridiculous run plays? That was my dude, Jacob Sailors. And every week that it happened, I said, okay, this guy's making an argument here. This guy's making an argument. And at the end of the season, there's nothing that's really changed for me. Probably a couple other guys that could have worked for this as well. But I don't know, man. And for all the people that say we give the Battlehawks, we're Battlehawk haters. Look at us, Zach. Look at us. Right off
Look
the
at
top.
us. Exactly.
Look at us.
We're given what's due. You know, we're recognizing the quality performances. Do you think we don't watch? We see your guys out there. It was just kind of everywhere else was kind of tough outside the run game. And yeah, Jacob actually, funny enough, put in his due to get some of that passing game as well. It was kind of like the league's Marshall Faulk in a way, ripping off almost 750 total yards of offense between his performances on the ground and through the air, just a yard shy of 500 on the season on the ground, and roughly a yard or two shy at I think it was like 246, I believe it was. I'm sorry, I got to do this because now I'm sure 245 in the air as well, contributing 5 total touchdowns on the season. Man was special, and definitely was, I think, one of the key contributors, if not the core contributor outside of whoever was behind center running RPO, in leading this Battlehawks offense on so many crucial drives to win games this season. So absolutely was a big factor. You saw him in a lot of times, and especially one-score games, he was the guy scoring the go-ahead touchdown. So yeah, definitely was not too hard. Honorable mention for me was Deion Kane, but once I looked up Sailors' passing numbers, where he's still top 20 in the league and easily the leader in yards, I had to put Deion Kane to the side. 6 touchdowns, by the way, for Deion Kane, and was third in passing yards. That was my logic. But Sailors is the guy for me too. So yeah, the only unanimous one, but still, I think you and I can agree on choices you and I have made. So yeah.
Well, number 2, we were close because I won't say who I was going to pick because that'll give yours away. But I did end up picking Chris Odom. Now, you could say, well, that's partially homerism because he played for the Roughnecks or the Gamblers in the past. But when I look at you talked about kind of these collective stats, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at sacks. He's in the top 5. And even the difference in between top 5 and number 1 is what, 2.5. So he's kind of right up there. But for me, tackles for loss, right? This is when the impact matters on the field. Now, you can make the argument that the team didn't end up in the playoffs, but still, I think if he didn't play the way he played, Arlington would have looked like a much worse team this year.
Yes.
And for that reason and that reason alone, I'm giving it to Chris Odom. But I mean, he led the league in tackles for loss. That in itself is kind of a big deal. I was close on Peta though. I was close on him, but I'm curious what put it over the edge for you.
Well, I'll tell you, I do like.
You're just trying to win the Battlehawks fans over. This is.
I'll be honest with you. My 3 of my votes are leading that, so that is kind of funny how I said it. Hey, I full committed there. I said, you know what? Yeah, but Peta Tomoipenu here is definitely my guy. So here's the deal. Leading in sacks, still was absolutely a massive contributor in the pressures this whole year. And I think it just goes back to, the kind of what St. Louis really stood on this year. 8-2, and they rode specifically a very well-balanced run game and front line. But on the opposite side, great pressure and great job at kind of holding teams at bay and keeping everything in reach to find the right time to be opportunistic. And that defense absolutely was. I feel Peta was a huge part of that, and I think, honestly, that's what I think gives him my edge there. However, not going to lie, Chris Odom, great option. Look, 5 sacks alone still. The tackles for loss, also huge. So keep that in mind as well when you're leading that in the league too. I think that is going to be a tight battle, actually. More I look into Chris Odom and kind of, I knew he was already playing at a high level. I was just curious, what else might be able to put him over the top. The tackles for loss is a huge stat for him to have on there as well. I'm curious, though, if maybe Peta's impact with the Battlehawks might give him the edge if we have a full vote, but love both the options. Not going to lie.
Well, and I believe Chris Odom, if he wins Defensive Player, this will be the second time, am I right?
It would be in the merged. Yeah, in merged stats it would. Yeah, because he did this in the USFL. Actually, his Defensive Player of the Year nod in the 22 season was the reason why he got back to the NFL. Now, credit, he got injured in training camp, and it sucks because he actually had a legitimate shot of making that roster in Cleveland. But I say his nod in the inaugural year was one of the core reasons why we even see him as a superstar today. Like, he had a coming out party for the Gamblers back in the day, along with Donald Payne.
All in, baby. All in.
All in. But no,
So
good pickup. Definitely not a homer pick. I'm gonna defend you on that.
Hey, sign me up. I'll take it. So special teams. You want to jump in? I gave the first two. I figured you could start the last two.
Yeah, let me jump in and we'll do this way. So I had a tough one, and I thought there's some solid return men for getting yards. Not really explosive plays for touchdowns this year. So I couldn't. I'm not saying touchdowns are the main stat with kicking returns, but I didn't feel like there were any return men that really justified the special teams player of the year nod. So I went to the kicker side, and it was a tough choice. Not gonna lie, but I think, again, talk about impact, talk about how this team got to this point and winning games. I gotta give it to Ricardo Blankenship, and this is a guy that was, kind of, I think, outcasted from the NFL in a way. Had a bit of a rough stretch at his end of his tenure with Indianapolis. Didn't really get picked up anywhere. He's taken this opportunity with the league, much like we've seen with other kickers. And I think he's squarely back in the conversation to be talked about in NFL circles to get a job again this offseason, without a doubt. Only missed one kick this year. Felt like his leg was much better than I saw him in the NFL in terms of strength. Still can't push those higher 50 numbers for kicks, but being able to hit 50-yarders more regularly, dude had a really good year. Like, I think he'll be back in the NFL, and I think he's going to be that next kicker that took this opportunity and kind of help pump himself back up into the game. So I got to stick with Ricardo, but a lot of great kicking still this year as always. There's plenty. Your pick's interesting, but I in previous years, I think this gentleman, I can see making a case even more so at times.
I got a couple of reasons here. First, once I saw Rodrigo on your list, I said, that's
it's like you almost were like, oh my God, how could I blank?
Yeah. So it is what it is. It is, but I'm not going to change it, right? So Isaiah Henney won the kick six. To me, that is impressive as you can get with a play when it comes to special teams. What was it, 108 yards on this one, something like that?
Yeah, it's 108. It's definitely the longest play in the league's history, and tied with the with others in the past as well. So
yeah. So I look at that. Plus, the Showboats got snubbed in the All UFL team, and for that alone, I give the extra points. The league take them. I give them. Plus, you want to talk about extra points. You know what they didn't factor in the All UFL team? How many points each player had in ATU points? They never factored that in. And Isaiah Henney has more than Rodrigo. So to me, boom, baby.
Lock it in. If you want to pick the best one for the show, well, he kind of holds it firm. Hey, Ricardo, if you happen to get this clip, maybe you need to join ATU.
Yeah.
Come and take a visit with us if you would like. Because definitely, I think that's definitely should be in order. Honorable mention, shout out, by the way, to Harrison Mavis, the thicker kicker, as they're calling him down there in Birmingham. Really great year as well. Only missed one as well. However, again, this is where I get into like situational football. I gotta go with Ricardo just a little bit, but dude is definitely also another great option. Was one of the two, I think, top two. If we talk, it's him and Ricardo, and then you can talk Luskis, Havrisk, and Matt Cologne as well, or Coughlin, that have been doing excellent too. So, definitely don't want to forget those guys. But no, the thicker kicker, definitely honorable mention. I can't leave here without saying that. And finally, the MVP vote. So I think you'll be some folks might be interested in some namings here. I'm going to go with mine really quick, and I am going to continue the conversation I had on ATU about this. I am going with Jordan Teamu as the MVP. I still believe he should have been the all USFL nod pick instead of Bryce Perkins personally, but I think that is it's in the past. But no, Jordan to me is the MVP choice. We had questions about if he could lead this DC Defenders squad and be the main bread maker on that offense, and that if Abram Smith wasn't going to be delivering, could he do it? He showed out and did more. Was absolutely the defining QB star in terms of a full season production. And I know that he was sat for a game and a half, but when you give it in the circumstance, if you play all 10 games, I guarantee you he beats out Luis Perez in yards, and he continues to do what he's been doing in the touchdown-interception ratio this year, which, by the way, his best season of football in spring football was this year with the TDINT ratio. He was really crisp. He has this offense down. So I got to give that nod. What I will say to this before we get to yours is I have a sneaking dark horse suspicion they're going to give it to Bryce Perkins for the sake of because explosive player and because they got the all USFL nod. That's just what I think's going to happen. I don't know if it will. And personally, I'll say the same thing I said on Monday. I hope it doesn't, because to me, I think you're devaluing Jordan's season. And I was railing on Jordan all year. I know he's inefficient in terms of completion percentage, but he was the guy of the guys at QB this season. So, yeah, but anyway, I mean, any thoughts on that? And then yours is a fast. I think is a good argument for maybe next year personally, but I'll let you go. I want to hear your argument here.
Well, on Jordan first, it is hard to deny 17 touchdowns. I mean, when we look at the rest of the list, I don't think there's anybody else that's in double digits, right? So that alone, right? That alone.
I mean, 17 TDs to 4 interceptions. Like any other year, that is a double-digit interception rate for Jordan. He was excelling this season. It's great numbers. And he would have definitely won the yardage again if he plays at least another half of football.
It's just crazy to look at these numbers, right? So over 2,100 yards passing, 17 touchdowns on a 54% completion rate. You compare that to Luis Perez, who barely edged him out with almost 2,300 yards, 71%, almost 72% percentage, only 9 touchdowns. It is, and so there is something to that when it comes to the efficiency of missing half of your passes, but still dominating the league in touchdowns. So you know what? Maybe that alone. But I still stand by my pick. And I don't think anybody should be surprised by this pick, because what are we talking about here? We're talking about the most valuable player. The player that if this team did not have this player, they would not perform the same. And although in my situation, we learned that news in reverse order, we learned it nonetheless. And that's why naturally my MVP pick of the season is a guy that only played 7 games, Jalen McClendon of the Houston Roughnecks, because those first 3 games were scary. And the moment he took the field when we were playing the Stallions, the first game, so we might be competitive here. Then we started winning. He almost single-handedly, because I don't want to take any credit away from the rest of the team. Justin Hall, for instance, our defense did a hell of a job this year. Better than I think a lot of people expected. You could say what you want about CJ, but the dude's entertaining on the sidelines. But without Jalen McClendon, this team would not be anywhere close to 500. He is probably one of the biggest reasons we went from a 1-9 team to a 5-5 team. And when we look at next year, you're right, Zach. To me, my eye is on McClendon for MVP. One of these guys that's kind of always been overlooked. It didn't matter the situation. He was with the Vipers, overlooked. Comes over to the Merge League, overlooked. Even when he's with the Roughnecks, he's the 3rd string quarterback until he's not. And then we all learned, why the hell have you just been sitting on the sidelines for all of these damn years? Next year, he gets to come into this league from the beginning of the season, have that preseason, have the plays built around him, have the receivers tuned to him from the beginning of the year. God, please, we retain a Justin Hall and all of these, like all of the key contributors from this season. Kiki Chisholm, bring them on, because now we got a guy that's going to be able to move that ball. He does, and this is my only one knock on him. He needs to think about the plays sometimes in some of those drive end of the game drives, because he could have kneeled a couple weeks ago. Instead, he tried to get fancy, tried to get 1st and goal, and we all know what happened next.
Yeah.
But he's still my MVP. He's the league MVP. Have we not had him, we easily could have went 0-10.
He's as you can tell, my colleague is leaning very heavy into the valuable in the MVP acronym. And while I will say that, yes, if you look at the change of the change of the switch and flip of the switch later in the year after game 3 and him coming in and showing that his passing ability was definitely the most refined between Anthony Brown and Nolan Anderson, it helped a ton because that team really needed someone that is able to digest and more, I think, better read defenses and kind of be a true passer, less with some mobile characteristic. And yes, I think next year, and keep in mind, he left DC to go and play for Houston. So he was on that roster last year behind Jordan Ta'amu. He went and played for Houston, started the year as the third string, which it's fascinating to see that, looking back and how we do this and talk about the years, what starts and what ends the year, And I still think there's a lot of potential for Anthony Brown. But if you're talking about winning and wanting to, I think, establish and get back to, being more of a threat in the UFL, I mean, if McClendon wants back, you should want him back immediately. This was a guy that I think is a great, at least for this moving forward for like next maybe 1 to 2 years, or how long he wants to stay and what the objectives are with CJ Johnson, as long as he gets to stay, he's a great guy to start your base with next year. Know that he's the starter right away. Then he can focus on developing behind the scenes. So, yeah, I'm glad for him too. This is a guy I started the year thinking he should have won the job and that he should have been a contender for the job more in front. And I haven't forgotten his performances with Vegas in 2023 because he showed up. And I was surprised he kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit outside the fact he was playing behind Jordan Ta'amu. But people seem to forget about him and then, conveniently remembered him all of a sudden when he started playing good again. It's like, well, no, that's the same guy I remember from 2 years ago. So if he's back next year, that's a great nod. And that's another solid QB you can lean on to start the season. Because I think the league needs good QBs to kick things off if they can. And if they're stars from your spring scene, he's one of them. He's getting there, I think.
Hell yeah. So here's what I want everyone to do. I want you guys to let us know what you think of our picks for Players of the Year. Also, let us know what your picks will be. I think that what do they announce them right before the championship? Is that what they usually do after the playoffs?
Usually, yeah, I believe that's the case. Yeah.
So we should know soon. But it does lead us to, well, actually, we have one other topic before it leads us to this weekend. On the awards note.
Yeah, there's one more good award, and this one's a feel good, and I think one that highlights kind of the mission of especially what the USFL started in their end, and definitely is committed to and made commitments with the merger since, is the Sportsman of the Year. This is a year that dates back to award that dates back to 2022 in the inaugural USFL season. And pretty much to read off the PR, it's a prestigious honor that recognizes the UFL player who best exemplifies the league's core values by demonstrating excellence on field and deep commitments to community service off the field. And it celebrates individuals who lead by example, demonstrating passion for the game of football on field, and then serves to make a difference within communities. So highlights the community aspect that the league is trying to push. And, for players that do and actively want to be involved and do extra outside the game, that's what it's there for. A few of these we've seen have already been doing work in the years past, and I'm not surprised to see names on here. Like, for example, nominees Chris Rowland for DC and Travis Feeney for St. Louis. They've been community leaders for their teams or ambassadors for their teams for several years now. Even Rowland, like I said, dating back to the USFL, Feeney, USFL or XFL seasons too. So, not surprised to see them. Others on this list: Arlington's tight end Seth Green, Birmingham offensive lineman Barry Wesley. We also have for your Houston Roughnecks, Leon O'Neal, safety for the team. He's been also having a really solid year at safety too, by the way. So, good kudos to him as well. For Memphis, Jalen Allen, defensive end. He's been doing some great things over there in Memphis, and they've been active in that community. And in San Antonio, you've got tight end Steven Stylianos, who is also doing community work and has been doing some great nods too for the Brahmas. So those are your 8. They're also going to be announced. It should be along with either with or along the same lines as championship week. So stay tuned to that. Other previous winners, one of them we interviewed actually for our second summer stock, Ethan Westbrooks. He was on our show at the time with the Panthers. He won the 2023 award. And then last year, Darius Victor won the UFL's inaugural Sportsman of the Year. We hope he's doing well since he has not been back in the league since. But yeah, he gets that nod too. And he's also has been active in years past as one of the consistent guys in communities when he was in the USFL. So yeah, kudos. Good award. And again, it's, I think just as we've talked here, I think it's important these teams are in communities. You know, there was some discussion on like, you know, how this changes with the new format when they merge and how it takes some things away or kind of getting in as easily with how they did the hubs in the USFL. And I still hold steady that the more they do that, the more it not only helps get you out there as a team and as a brand, but also, you know, you better engage the community and give back. People appreciate that too. You know, it's vital for this level of sport, not just the UFL. Like arena indoor teams do this stuff all the time as well, and I love seeing that type of work.
No, absolutely. It's one of the things that makes spring football fun. They treat themselves like a professional league, even down to the small things like giving back to the community. So I like to see that. Now, would we like to see them move back into the communities so we see more of that? Yes. So don't be forgotten about that. I do appreciate the award, but I do want to see more of this in the communities as we head into season 3 and beyond. But we can't get to season 3 without having a little old shindig this weekend, Zachy boy, and that's a little old thing called the UFL Playoffs. And at least for this year and maybe next year, we don't know, but we still have a USFL Conference Championship and an XFL Conference Championship. And you know what? As silly as it is, I'm excited to see that little old whisk. Bring it out. Now, I think, and I'll have to keep an eye on this, but I think I saw James Baker mention that on the XFL Conference trophy, it just has a Renegades plaque. They never
removed the plaque?
They never removed the plaque, nor did they add the iterative team that won the conference championship the year later. So keep an eye out for that this weekend if they bring old whiskey out. Whiskey, all right. You know, that's what they should have did, made it a whiskey bottle. Now we're talking. Now no more jokes, boys.
Pop. All right. It's party time.
But we're kicking things off Sunday. Both games are on Sunday this week. And so the championship's on a Saturday. The playoffs are on a Sunday. We're kicking things off midday, 3 p.m. Eastern, with the Michigan Panthers traveling to the Birmingham Stallions for this, really a repeat of last year. I'm just going to hand it over to you. How are you feeling?
Here we go again. And, you know, I don't know how I feel. I want to say, and I think this is the best shot that this franchise has had at getting over the hump, but I'm not 100% sure. The two matchups we played this year, it's either been Mike Nolan splits reps with his quarterback situation, and even then I can still make the caveat that Bryce Perkins did not look too good in that first matchup. Still was early in the year. You know, we can definitely say that teams adapt and change, but it was earlier in the year. Michigan was a little healthier. Not as much right now. Still dealing with the injury bug. You know, meanwhile, the second matchup, it's a throwaway game, but what did stick out to me is, man, Jordan Teamu, I swear to God, the guy is looking so sharp and has not had that off game that we have seen him and known him to have, you know, and I think that's my worry is that, you know, I think that he's very comfortable with Skip's offense, and I'm also afraid of Michigan giving up the big play. They do on a very regular basis this season, and it's led to some of their losses. As much as I complain about St. Louis and what the push off that was not against Hakeem Butler, you know, they had 2 splash plays in that game that led to them losing by 5. And that's something that stuck out to me that has continued to be a point of contention I've looked at all year is every game they give up at least 1 to 2 big splash plays in the defensive secondary. Part of that's health. Part of that I think is just that something happens with the scheme and they just happen to get a vulnerability. And I think that's going to be a problem that I'm worried about because Jamar Smith is slinging it and is looking so crisp with these 20-plus yard pass plays. He looks so damn good, Stephon. He's finding these receivers. Deion Kane's a wonderful deep threat. Jace Sternberger, our guy for ATU, he's looking better than ever right now. He's looking like he was 2 years ago, where he was the primary target. And
not according to the Discord, Zach.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna sidestep the Discord. Link in the description if you want to continue to get on us or with the Discord on that. But it worries me that and Birmingham's defense has been a consistent, steady presence all year. It's really just about, were they able to find some offensive traction? I think they found it. And I don't know how you feel about me. I'm worried about it, because all the chips are on the table for Michigan to make this one big push. It's why Bryce Perkins is sitting, and they've let that ankle heal. But man, he's got to have the best game of his life, because I know Birmingham with a home game, which the tickets are selling solid. I've seen for that game, by the way. And it's Jamar who's looking crisp, and it's this defense that's looking studly. I just don't know if Michigan can outcoach this Birmingham team, is my question. Bryce is the key, supposedly, but is he going to be rusty? That's the part. He's sat for a few games now.
That's what I would be worried about, too. You would think they would have had them out, even if just for a drive or two in this previous week, just to, get some of that rust out there, because you're going into the most important game of the season against somebody that I've learned a long time ago. You just don't bet against Coach Holtz and the Stallions. When you think the dynasty is over, what did they end the season with? Head of the USFL division, 3 losses. Oh, geez, Zach, I'd love to be in that position. I'd love for my team to be dying like that. Oh my God. And it's funny. We listened to I don't know how close you watched this last game where the Stallions just trounced the showboats, but the sideline reporters talk. I mean, Coach Holtz, I don't know why he talks to his players like that. If I was a QB, I know a lot of QBs that wouldn't be that cool-headed. Look at his record. That dude, it's called coaching with confidence. That dude knows what he wants. He's going to tell you when he doesn't get it. He's going to tell you when he doesn't get it every time, even if it's not your fault. He's going to make sure you understand why the play that he called or drew up or whatever didn't go as expected.
Oh, yeah.
So that the next time. And when we saw that in this previous game, 1 try, 2nd try, 3rd try, you're done. Skip's got you. He's got and all the players know I'm not getting yelled at again by Coach over here. And they're eyeing those things. And plus, I mean, I don't know if it's a Michigan Panthers thing. There's a thing. And I thought this would be the Panthers' year. Maybe it is. They have one more opportunity to beat the Stallions. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'm going the Stallions. I can't, in good faith. One, I'll have Stevie T, Bama Boy, the whole corral up my ass if I don't. But I truly mean it. I do think the Stallions are going to pull this off.
I love it. You're falling. Yeah, I love our crew that gets on us because it lets us talk. But you fall into the side. You said, I'm committing. I don't want any smoke this week. I'm picking the guy that has 3 championships in his back pocket, and they're looking dangerous right now. That's the thing. They are looking really damn good.
Well, Jamar, ever since he came into that game for Houston, like the second he came in, I said, oh, we're done. I just can feel that Jamar is going to have like a renaissance game. Little did I know he's having a renaissance season.
I mean, ever since, like that's what's crazy. And it's funny I feel like ever since he's joined, the energy around that team has changed. Like it's like it's like turning back the clock, like that old school, like first season feel for this team. Like people are jazzed to see their hero back, and that's saying something, given Alex Magoo also has that repertoire for being a championship hero and an MVP the next year after that. Jamar is just a staple with this team every season. I feel like that's why they're all rallying around him, is he's been there every year and he is their like consistent rock on the sideline. So it's cool. But look, I can't, Look at the stuff I got on. What do you think I'm picking? Do you really?
I'd be mad if he didn't.
Would you blame me for picking my team? It's a playoff matchup. It's something I've been dreaming is getting by these damn horses so I can go see my team play and get that shot for that glorious sterling silver metallic trophy. That's what I want. I got to go with my Panthers, man. And I am hoping that this time off allows Bryce to be Bryce and that whatever happened in that first matchup, they go, look, it's your reigns, no funny business with the drives. We think you can do it and get the job done. And I think if there's any time they're going to do it, it's going to be this year. Otherwise, we're waiting, or we're going to be seeing what went wrong, and we got to get another shot at getting healthy or something like that. Because these veterans they got on defense, Speaks finally got healthy, but you're not seeing Ginda again, and they're getting older. That's the thing. It's a more veteran roster for Michigan. It's now or never. So I'm going with the Panthers. But man, I see what's on the other side. I know I've watched this song and dance play out now for three seasons and change. So I'm bracing, but I'm still rooting.
Here's the thing: if you make it past the Stallions, you've earned the championship.
Pretty
right?
much.
And that's one thing that I think any team, they're kind of looking at that almost as a challenge. Well, Panthers, especially because of the history.
Well, I think everyone too, knowing the history in the USFL, the XFL teams coming over last year, knowing who the top dog was, and then getting shellacked by the top dog in the championship round and on the way up, everyone knows the target's on Birmingham. Like, it's been that way, And even again this year, they lose to DC in ugly fashion. They go and rotate through quarterbacks and look terrible. They lose to Memphis in like a baffling stunner on a Friday night. And you're just like, what? And sure enough, here they are. Only loss since then, a 1-point loss to St. Louis, which, yes, St. Louis fans, good win. But as Joel Klatt and company point out on broadcast, and I still agree, you take that pick six away. Was that game really close? Because I'll tell you, Jamar was looking good outside of one very telegraphed slant. And that's something that scares me. If you refine that team a little bit, they are scary, is the thing. Personal preference, though, is, I'm actually going to wait to make my personal preference because it'll come down with my pick next. So I'll hold off.
Right on. Well, that leads us to the late game. 6 p.m. Eastern, we got the DC Defenders traveling to St. Louis, taking on the Battlehawks in the Dome. And what we saw last year with St. Louis, they're ready for some playoff action. We're getting some more playoff action. And I think this year, they're hoping to make it to the championship. And I'll say, I'm really excited about this game because this is probably one of the truest rivalries that we had from the XFL.
Yes.
I mean, ever since the Lemon days and even before that, St. Louis and DC, it's usually a chippy game. It's loud. It's fun. It's entertaining. Even this past week, Friday night game, whatever, doesn't matter. Fun. I don't know. But I think, I do know, Zach. I don't. I was going to play like I don't know this game.
Yeah, I'm not sure, man. I just don't know. I'm clueless.
I think the Battlehawks are taking this. Through hook or crook, through hard work or whatever is needed, I think the Battlehawks want that home championship game. Beyond that, I'm pretty sure league officials would love to have the championship Battlehawks or the Battlehawks play in that championship game in St. Louis. We were at that game last year. There was a good amount of people there. It's a big stadium.
Yes, it is.
But if the Battlehawks were in there, we know what that thing would look like. Actually, we might not even, because it might be more packed than it's ever been. A championship game, football championship game in St. Louis. Everything's on the line. That alone, take out the players, take out Jacob Sailors, take out Max Duggan, put nobody on the field. That alone, I feel the crowd's energy and momentum is going to carry that football wherever it needs to go to ensure that the Battlehawks make it to the championship game. And you know what? I am going to give a little bit of credit to Anthony Becht. I meant to actually a couple weeks ago, and I didn't. Some people love him. Some people hate him. I love his dedication. right call, wrong call, challenged, no matter what. He is in it to win it, baby. He's on the sidelines. If it's good for him, he is excited as hell. If it's bad for him, he's tearing the place down. And I kind of love that in a football coach. It's just that extra personality. The team, you kind of know who you're getting into. Similar reason why I love CJ. He's lovable, but he's not so much of a threat. You know what I mean? He's, you're going to get some entertainment about something on the sideline when he's there.
He's not a, quote, he's not a threat.
Yeah. Anthony Beck, though, you know what? As much as I wanted to say that the Battlehawks weren't going to be the team this year, best record in the league. And, maybe they wanted to be the guys to change how the playoffs worked and who got into it. It didn't matter at the end, and they didn't get their way.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to pick the Battlehawks, especially when I look at close games throughout the season. The DC Defenders, they've been pretty good at having comeback games, but they also lost to the Rough Necks. Need I say more? I mean, right?
Okay, but they did pull their starter at halftime and played a backup who almost pulled that win off, mind you. So just want to...
Didn't pull it off, though.
Oh, I know.
50% completion rate, Zach. I'm just saying this game is ripe for the Battlehawks to just scare the hell out of defenders. Get them, if they can score and get an interception in the first quarter, I think the defenders are shook. I'm going to give the defenders some credit here, though. Of all teams that I wouldn't want to play against in the playoffs on the XFL side, the other one would be the defenders here. You're looking at a team, and I'll probably sound like a broken record when I say this, but you're looking at a team, it's like a tale of two stories. When you look at the Showboats versus the defenders, very similar situations. They both lost their head coach going into the season. They both had changes in the coaching tree, even. And what is the difference, Zach? One's going to the playoffs as a definitive number 2, and the other one is a definitive second from last, right? There's a lot to be said for that, and I think Shannon Harris, as the coach, has a lot to do with that. So now you're in a situation, though, where your personality is dictated by the drive of Anthony Becht and the determination of Shannon Harris. But I just feel with that home team advantage in the dome, with everything on the line, I think that's where the Battlehawks get the flip. And again, for all the Battlehawks fans, I will say I did laugh pretty heavily when I saw the greatest rivalry in the UFL is PFN versus the Battlehawks. I said, all right, that's pretty funny. But no, I've said it a couple of weeks ago. I'm sticking by that. I think the Battlehawks are getting to the championship. Home crowd, say it doesn't help. In St. Louis, it helps. So that's my take.
My counterpoint to the crowd is, though, guess who has the most success in that building? The DC Defenders. Anyone who always brings up this crowd argument, that's one team you can't bring into the fact, no matter who's coaching it. DC knows how to play in St. Louis. That 30,000 crowd doesn't give a damn. It doesn't matter to the DC Defenders. They've beaten them multiple times in their history in that building. So I'm just going to let you know right now, my question is, the pressure's on St. Louis. You know why? The only time these two have played full strength, DC whipped them at home. Two possession win. Wasn't even close. And my question to St. Louis is, what has changed in this offensive game plan since that first contest? Manny Wilkins is a runner that doesn't have as much passing ability, and they can't extend the field. You know who else can't really do that still that I don't trust? Max Dugan. He does the exact same thing as Manny Wilkins. They still can't get an extended, consistent pass game involved. And that's DC's strength is in the secondary. Their pressure in the secondary. And they have given up some yards. But you know what's on the other side? An offense that I think can actually take on that St. Louis defensive front and make things work. I got to go with the defenders. And look, I think St. Louis, this is the best team Anthony Becht has had, in my opinion, if we're talking overall and what is getting them wins. And I know that I don't care what STL guys have to say. these two have played together. DC can play in that building, and it's the same offense that these two played against each other with last time that St. Louis has to do. Where is your explosive plays that you're going to be able to beat this team on is my question. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they have it. I think that you're going to see the younger Williams as defensive coordinator who's going to take Greg's original game plan. And yes, there's adjustments you can make, but I think it's the same game plan they played last time. As long as Max isn't running and scrambling out of the pocket, which teams seem to forget, hey, if we keep this guy in the pocket, he's got to make throws. And he hasn't been able to do that most times during the year, or it's been very select drives is the deal. If we keep this guy in the pocket and we focus on the run game, we can slow this team down. And I think the biggest issue is people don't play contain. DC can play contain. They got the right guys to do it. I got to go with defenders. And I'm going to say it's a close one, but I'm going with my MVP pick, who's going to be the guy that leads them to the win. I trust that offense with that guy, which, by the way, possible chance that Ty Scott's also going to be playing in this game. Heard today via James Larson, he's on his Twitter that he's back in the building. So more weapons coming your way. My St. Louis' saving grace is if they play defense and they play a better game than they did against the defenders the first time. And I just don't think they can. Because, again, if the crowd audience is one thing, sure, but that's the one team you can't use the whole – like big home capacity argument on, because they've beaten them there. They know how to play there, you know?
Not to mention, I wouldn't doubt if DC travels well for this game.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I think there's going to be a contingent of super fans, but, you know, still, my pressure's on the Battlehawks. The defenders have had no reason to get serious. They have played super conservatively scaled back football for 2 weeks. You know, Sans playing Tamo for a half. And the last time these two played was in a mud bowl in DC with their backup quarterback starting.
Yeah.
How am I going to give the nod to St. Louis? Now, the one caveat I do have that's interesting, and I think it was actually brought up in an interview I did for a buddy of mine, Phil Jordan. You should go check his show out. If they struggle, if the Battlehawks, for some reason, cannot get things going fast enough and they get behind early, and this is from recent performance, seeing our Brandon Silvers on the field. Mm-hmm. Do you throw Brandon Silvers in if you're going, you know what, we got a run game. If Max ain't doing it, we got to get a pass going and start attacking the secondary, because that you just can't wait around. That's the thing. That's there's no difference in offense between what Dugan was doing and what Manny Wilkins was doing in the early going of the year. They're the exact same thing. The difference is, can you find some aerial attack? I feel like Brandon Silvers sees time in this game if they get behind. I really do.
It might not necessarily be a bad thing. I think Brandon Silvers, funny enough, is always trying to prove why he should be playing football, and every time he gets on the field, it's kind of proving it to a certain extent. Everybody has a down game, but he does have some pretty amazing plays for a guy that's sitting on the backup. So, you know, I wouldn't doubt it as well. I do appreciate the fact that each of us has different picks this week. Mm-hmm. You're going bold. Both the away teams, though. I like it. Yeah.
I will say that my confidence meter is more in DC. It's again, most of it comes down to home field advantage hasn't really been worth a damn playing the defenders in St. Louis. So it really comes down more to full strength. These teams DC knows how to quiet the crowd. That's the deal.
Yeah. Well, only a few days before we have to wait, and then we're going to be watching these playoff games, and at that point, we're going to know the championship. Monday, we'll be talking about that on Around the UFL, and then you and me are going to be catching up for a ride, and we'll be talking about that and launching it for Summer Stock, the road to the UFL Championship, all reasons you need to be subscribed. Before we do the outro, we're recording this on a Wednesday. Switch 2 releases tonight. I'm hyped. I'm ready. And this is why we were talking about when to record. I was like, we could record Thursday. We absolutely could have. My schedule is much more open, but I was like, you know what? All I'm going to be thinking about while we're recording is I could be playing that Switch 2. So we got it out of the way today, and now I'm excited.
Mario Kart World is something I'm so thrilled to get to play soon. Oh, my goodness.
Me too. And I've been so busy, Zach, that I've barely been able to look at anything related to the Switch 2, which actually has me a little bit more excited, because usually by now I'll have like watched a million videos, watched the play, blah, blah, blah. This time I'm going in blind. I know a little bit about Mario Kart. And so I'm actually a little bit excited about this. I know which games are like real games, which ones are the digital key card, because to me, there's no point in buying a digital key card.
Yeah.
But like Cyberpunk, I'll probably buy it again just to reward them for putting the cartridge on the disc. And that's the one thing I did see gameplay of. And it's as good as an Xbox Series S. And in some cases better.
Right.
And so for a handheld, bro, that's sweet.
Yeah,
right?
man. Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
So, I'm ready, but I can't wait. They need more games. I will say that. They do need some more games. For you, who's never had a Switch, it's actually built for people like you. Because now you get to come into it with a boatload of games. Zelda, both Zeldas, regular or with the upgrade patch. You have, all of those games. Even the Pokemon game looks like it's actually playable now, which I think I owned it, played 5 minutes, and I said, this is horrible. How could they put this out?
That's slow, I take it.
It's just clicky and chunky and bad. And then I saw a screenshot. It was running 60 frames per second. I was like, okay, all right, fair. So I'm just curious to poke around. And then I just remembered they also have the GameCube online platform thing now. So I don't even know what games are coming for that, which I saw they have a GameCube controller that works for it. So now I got to buy that. Oh, man. But I'm looking. Gosh. I'm ready. And soon, in a week, we'll be playing it too.
I'm resisting buying it just now, but it's going to happen this year. I'm definitely picking one up. I have to.
Yeah.
Got a whole catalog to catch up on right now. Plenty.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. You should start looking those Switch games. You can get them cheap. And so, like, think about this. You could pay $80 for Zelda Switch 2 version, or you could probably find it on sale for $30 and pay $10 for the upgrade.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so there's probably a lot of, like, deals you can find in that.
Yeah, I'm that type of shopper with games anymore. Unless I need it, I'm waiting a few years and picking it up later when it goes to the used game market. That's just me. So, oh yeah.
I'm too much of a weirdo. God, the last time I didn't buy a Nintendo console on launch, it was just eating me up inside.
Which one was that?
Nintendo's the only one. I think it was, funny enough, the Wii U, the one that I didn't need to worry about. And I bought, it was one of those things where I walked in 2 days later and everywhere had a Wii U.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, thank God. I can't believe you have one in stock. Oh, boy. Because, most of these things, especially with Nintendo, they slow drip that thing to create anticipation. The only other one I didn't buy, and this one I stood my ground, was the 3DS. Because it was like $270 when they launched it. And then it was like a year later, they dropped it to $150. And I'm like, okay, then I bought it. I think I bought it the day it dropped to $150. I was like, okay, there we go. Because, $300, no, not for the handheld. Wasn't going to do it. No. And here I am spending $500 for one. I know. So funny how that works.
Well, look, but this is what the full off topic is here. That's what I want. Look, I want a Switch that has the power of a PS4 and plays all the old games, and you can add more functionality. The mouse feature, I'm fascinated to see what comes with that. Like that is genius. That is a perfect connection to like the PC space where developers that only focus on like RTS or strategy games, or maybe you'd have a chance to use it for like more RPGs with like more like functionality that could use like the mouse. Like that's cool stuff. I love that function. So can't wait. Just has to wait.
Civilization is going to be because I've thought this through. Is I can get like a little flat cover that I can put on my lap on my couch and play Civ the way it should be played. I can't play. Whoever plays Civ with a controller, this is why I'm like, why buy it on a console? But now that I can mouse and keyboard that bad boy, okay, I'll rebuy Civ 6 again and it's on sale right now for like $5. Boom, Civ 7.
Give me the itch for Command and Conquer, like Total War. I got Total War Medieval too, and that's like, I'll jump on there and be like in a wormhole of just playing it for like weeks on end. It's so good. I love RTS. Just wish on console if that's the chance. But yeah, that'll be on the road to summer stock. We'll get to check that out at one time. Curious though, might as well get this out of the way while we're on here. Should we do a road version of this show or just count summer stock as the road version? What are you thinking? I'm kind of torn on this. I'm leaving this up to you.
I don't know.
I mean, because we could pack the mics. I can do it. Do we feel the hotel room constitutes us recording?
You know what I'm gonna say? Let's not do an episode. If anybody's gonna watch any video that week, it has to be summer stock.
I like your thinking.
Because what I won't want to have is somebody watches the podcast and then they're like, oh, well, I just watched the preview. No, you're watching summer stock. If you don't, I'll find you. Elaborate on your own.
Watch out now. Watch out now. He's talking to you specifically. He's going to find you.
Mm-hmm. And you know which one I'm talking about. Summer stock. So look for it. Friday the 13th or very, very early Saturday, June the 14th. It's going to be, I can't wait to do this. I just can't wait to do the stops. Even if the content comes out like crap, I'm just going to be happy to have done it, have it in the ether somewhere. And, I don't know if we talked about this on the show, but it's also next year is the 100th anniversary of Route 66. It's a time of transition.
I did not know that. Fun fact. That's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Kicking up.
Well, awesome. It's funny is I thought you were the one that told me that. So now I'm like, did I just make that up? Hold on now.
I don't believe so. Now I'm going to double check before we get off now.
Because what you said, I was like, I thought you were the one that told me that. Yeah. Okay. November 1926.
No, you definitely found that. I did not give you that fact.
All right.
But that's cool. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
100 years next year. We're at 99 right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll I'm sure we'll talk about that because, as the road transitions, so does this league as such with the, maybe expansion, maybe relocation, XFL, USFL, and new conference names. So we'll weave it all in. Don't you guys worry. Plus, we're going to be doing all sorts of goofy stuff on the way. And there probably will be a Mario Kart tournament spliced into that somewhere, somehow, some way. If we could do it while we're driving, that'd be fun. I don't want to take a chance of getting pulled over anywhere. So we'll probably do it the safe way.
I think I'm good with that, but I don't know if you want to, maybe we'll catch a clip of you playing Mario Kart in the passenger seat because we'll interchange who's driving. So
just show you driving and then pan over and me driving.
Who's really driving this thing?
Officer, it wasn't me, it was him. Anyway, both of us throw bananas at the same time.
Quick, switch chairs.
Yeah. What was it? The double dash? Yeah.
The double dash.
In real life. Hopping through the
best
windows.
Mario Kart, by the way. But yeah.
I agree. I agree. Double dash is the best. All right. Now that I think we've made it. We're at the point where we're talking about double dash on GameCube. I think we're good. We made it through the week. But I'll reiterate, follow, like, subscribe, do all the things, review us on the podcast thing, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the stuff. Do it. Links down below. Buy a summer stock shirt.
Hey, there you go.
Please.
That's what we're talking.
I'm still waiting on ours to be delivered, Zach. I got a feeling we might not get them in time.
Fingers crossed.
So cross those fingers. They haven't shipped yet, and I'm like, oh boy, we're like a week away now.
Yeah.
This is getting dicey. So we will see. But order yours anyway and get it after the fact because every penny counts for this road trip. But until next time, guys, that's about it. Sign you